Now to our I-Team investigation into security aviation. A federal agent died in a plane crash, and some say he should have never taken off. The I-Team's Matt Norton is here with what we have learned. Matt.
Reagan, as the FBI was investigating security aviation, a pilot from another agency died while he was flying one of security aviation's planes. He was working on his own time, repossessing that plane for a private company. Tonight, we hear from a man who says he tried to stop the plane from taking off. And we learn what the pilot said before he crashed. In January of last year, an Illinois company called Air USA repossessed two planes it had sold to security aviation. Air USA claimed it didn't get all the money it was owed. The planes were built in the Czech Republic and are known as L-39 MSs. 32-year-old pilot Stephen Freeman had nearly 150 hours of experience flying this model of aircraft and others like it. But Security Aviation Vice President Ray Sleeth says he tried to convince Freeman not to take off.
I arrived at the hangar, tried to stop it there, and Mr. Freeman himself, he stepped out, said, "I'm a law enforcement agent from Montana," and asked me to leave the building. I realized there would be a scene. I left the building.
Freeman was a full-time pilot for U.S. Customs and Border Protection. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, he was not on duty at the time, and he had permission to fly for Air USA. But Sleeth didn't think the aircraft Freeman was about to climb into was safe to fly.
Why was the plane not airworthy?
The planes were basically pulled out of a crate, pushed into a hangar, bolted together, and they were there was no manuals for it, nothing, and they were deemed unsafe. They were pushed back out of the hangar and sit on the tarmac frozen.
Around 3 p.m. on January 23rd, Freeman and another pilot left the Palmer Airport en route to Ketchikan. However, there was bad weather in Ketchikan, and they had to land in Sitka. The other pilot left his plane there. After waiting a day in Sitka, Freeman called the FAA for a weather report on the morning of January 25th. According to the NTSB, a flight service station specialist told him, "That wind that's out of the southeast at 13, gust up to 23, that's a fair amount of wind for Ketchikan." Freeman responded, "Yeah, that's a load of wind." 4.5 hours later, Freeman decided to take off. At 12:44, he was closing in on the Ketchikan airport. Visibility was about 3/4 of a mile, with wet, blowing snow. A flight service station specialist told Freeman, "I have to tell you, it does not look real favorable for a contact approach at this point." Freeman responded, "Okay, thanks. We'll make the call when we get..." 4 minutes later, someone gets on the radio and says, "Looks like he's abeam the Narrows over the channel there, Paul." The flight specialist realizes Freeman is a mile off course. He tries to contact Freeman. "I recommend an immediate climb and missed approach at this point. Albatross, Ketchikan radio, say your position." There was no response. A pilot on the ground saw Freeman's plane hit the Tongass Narrows at high speed. It skipped along the surface, hitting the water 3 times. Freeman managed to pull the plane up, and the witness lost sight of it. Other witnesses later saw Freeman ejecting from the aircraft. The plane crashed into a trailer park, slightly injuring 5 people on the ground. Freeman's parachute did not deploy, and he was still in his ejection seat when it hit several trees. The 32-year-old pilot was killed. Security Aviation's Ray Sleeth had worried this would happen. Before Freeman took off, here's what Sleeth says he told a Palmer police lieutenant.
I sit down in front of him, and I ask him, as a protector of the public, "Please do not allow this airplane to depart." I said, "There's a possibility it's going to scatter across the sky." Request not granted.
CBS 11 News has obtained the accident report from the National Transportation Safety Board. It doesn't put the fault on the aircraft, says investigators found no mechanical problems. Rather, the NTSB blames Freeman for the crash. It says he was flying too low and didn't follow instrument landing procedures. But it does acknowledge the weather, low clouds, and snow were contributing factors. It had been Freeman's first time flying into Ketchikan. According to the NTSB, his last recorded words were, "I got the field in sight. I'm going to try and cut the circle." Had he only known. Former security aviation employees say the plane Freeman was flying was considered so dangerous, even mechanics on the ground didn't want to go anywhere near it. They were afraid the mechanism that powered the ejection seat might explode on them unexpectedly. Reagan?